This piece of spiritual practices is about serving and outreach. The way that serving and outreach are usually pictured, at least maybe I'm making assumptions, but for me, before I was in children's ministry, to me serving and outreach brought to mind feeding people or going on a mission trip, things like that. And those are ways of serving and outreach. But when you have a child isn't going to go to Haiti on a mission trip, and a child is not going to necessarily be welcome to serve at a soup kitchen or something. So the way that it can look for a child is very different than an adult. But children are very capable of serving and outreach. So I guess that's the piece that I want to talk about for your family, of ways that you can incorporate serving and outreach even with young children. And it doesn't have to be a big, like I always tell the kids, you don't have to leave the country to be a missionary. You can be a missionary and be right here in Wexford. So I want them to see themselves as missionaries in their own home. Your mission field looks a little different. Your mission field might be your neighborhood or your classroom or your own family. You know, as parents, we're missionaries to our children, really, if you think about it. So their mission field as a child looks different, but explaining it in that way helps them to open their eyes to what missions actually is, and that is their ability to outreach. They have the ability to connect with and reach out to the people, the other kids in their neighborhood, the kids in their maybe class, if they're in school, then in their classroom, or their extended family, and the people that they interact with. That's their mission field. I like for kids to understand that they have the ability to impact people even though they're a child. When kids are here on Sunday for Kids Kingdom, they do their worship, and then we have offering. And it is each quarter our offering goes to one of our mission partners. So right there, they are serving with their money, with their tithing. They are serving these 3 mission areas. We have a quarter for Urban Impact, a quarter for Amani, and a quarter for Pine Valley. And we like to explain that to the kids because it's important for them to know that they are having an impact on those missions. And the way that they can do that, yes, is financial, but there are other ways that we try to incorporate serving opportunities on Sunday, and that ways that you could further that at home. When we teach in the classroom, we will teach a lesson, and then we'll say to them, what can you do with this? What are you going to do? How did this Bible story impact you? What can you do with it? And sometimes they come up with some of the most creative things. I remember we were doing this at Awana, and I remember one little girl apparently was home and saw the people that collected their garbage, and it was in the winter. She saw how very cold it was. She brought them out hot chocolate, which I thought was such a sweet thing to do. So she served, obviously with the help of her parent, but she served and came up with that idea on her own. She saw a need and she met the need. So that's something that you could consider doing at home. If your kids get any type of allowance, and just kind of encouraging them to set 10% of that aside as a tithe, and ways that they could use that towards serving or donating to a mission. As you're in your home and going through maybe even some of the things that your family does for service and outreach, pulling the children into that more. I know that some of the mission partners that we have do encourage families to serve together. So we could help you, connect with those places. If you see a need in your neighborhood, maybe it's like cleaning up their yard or something. Maybe somebody, I'll just give you an example of like if somebody broke their leg and they're not able to take care of their yard, or they're not able to shovel snow if it's winter. Identifying the need, talking to your child about it, and saying like, what do you think we could do? What do you think would be a good way that we could help them? And see what your child comes up with, and then do it together. And after or during, you can say, I bet this is such a beautiful way that you are showing God's love by really like taking your time and helping this person and doing this act of service for them, and call it service, and call it serving God, serving this person, serving this neighbor, and the bigger impact of what that is. How does that make you feel? And talk to your child about that, and talk to your child about the ways that your family does service and outreach. A child may not fully understand the entire scope of the outreach or the mission that you're serving. That's okay. It is just a way that they can see that they are part of that. They're not on the outside and waiting to be an adult to serve and do outreach. Their time is now too, and that their small life matters, and that their small life is impacting missionaries, and it's impacting people around them in the way that they love and serve the Lord. They are loving and serving their neighbor. So, those are just like a few examples. There are also things that they could maybe come up with on their own. I know one child came up with a way of serving at nursing homes during the pandemic. They were making a lot of crafts and projects and things like that, like arts and crafts type things. And so they wanted to send their crafts and their projects to nursing homes. That's a beautiful thing to have thought of. Their gift of artistic talent or whatever craft or project that they're working on can go beyond their doors and can go to serve someone else that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to see a beautiful piece of kids' art. I thought that was really telling of that child's heart, to come up with that on their own and to think of others in a time that is difficult. It's difficult for everybody, but they thought beyond their circumstances and thought of others and how their life in a nursing home without being able to see their family could be enriched by maybe receiving something from them, and it was. We try to incorporate periodically small service projects and missions in Kids Kingdom, in Awana, and also in Kids Zone. And one of the things that I think is good is if your child is actually earning the money that they're contributing, if it's financial, because that helps them to understand that they worked for something and then they gave of themselves. So even if you are creating jobs for them to complete for $1 or something, that's fine. They still have done something. They were tasked to do something. They completed it. They received a reward for that. They received compensation for that, allowance, and they chose to give a piece of that to a mission or to some way that they could serve. So if you'd like any more information about that, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to walk through some ways that children can serve and do outreach. Thank you.